Men are slowly giving up and nobody cares. That's not true. I gave up super fast. As soon as I realized I needed to have a job, I gave up. Yeah, 7 years old, I was like, I'm just not going to make it, guys. Sorry.
Increasingly, more and more men are giving up. Giving up on relationships, careers, and society as a whole. Resentment is growing.
This is why my stream is getting popular, by the way.
Unemployment is becoming rampant.
Yeah.
And keeping your head above water seems almost impossible for many men today.
Yeah.
This is leading to more men than ever dropping out of society entirely. And it's not just that. Men are becoming infantilized, with terms like adulting now becoming normal.
3 stages of adulting for men.
It's clear that something ugly is happening that needs to be addressed. We live in such a strained, unnatural environment that is bound to start to wear on society, but men in particular are battling to keep up and are slowly giving up. Giving up on dreams, giving up on trying, and giving up on doing anything constructive. And for a large part, it's really not their fault, as this trend isn't just a personal struggle, but a societal issue that we must urgently address. So why is this happening? And why has it gotten so bad in 2024?
It's going to keep getting worse, by the way. And here's another reason why it's getting worse, is that in like 1950, if you were a dumb guy, you could be like, all right, well, I don't really know what state I live in or how to spell my name, but I can put a bolt in a car and I own a house. That's a big fucking difference.
On the surface,
That's a huge
it's a long and
difference.
complicated story. Life has never been simple for any human, and objectively speaking, for men in the West today, it's never been better. We have all the technology we need, food delivered to your door with the tap of a finger, dating readily available to anyone with a simple swipe. Any products, items...
Well, it's not really readily available, right? I mean, because like if you're an ugly guy, you've got a really hard... it's hard for you to be able to meet anybody. I mean, I feel like that's definitely a factor. 100% a factor.
Or experiences that you want can be had with the tap of your phone. But over time, all of these comforts of life destroys the importance and necessity of struggle. Without any value placed on higher goals, where there just is no reason to care, means there's no reason...
Well, the reason why a lot of guys, I think, don't care is because they don't see a path to happiness and a path to success. Like, there's no longer the idea that you can work hard and you can be guaranteed success. And I think that that's really where people, like, you lose a lot of people. That's a massive factor.
For people to properly live or have the will to achieve greatness.
I think also, like, as a guy, it's probably, like, very demoralizing when you see opportunities for, like, I think it's ridiculous. Like, there's a lot of opportunities that are made, like, explicitly for women. And if you're a man, you just don't have access to that opportunity. There's very few things that are in that opposite direction. And I think that it's also more socially acceptable to be hostile and negative towards men because, like, men, and this is undeniable, that if you go back 50 years, men had a tremendous advantage in culture, right? Like, culture was built by and for men. And I think that culture has improved in a lot of ways to where women are given a lot of rights and privileges that they should have had all along. But I think that also what that comes with is that there comes with like a lingering sense of resentment where it's like a 20-year-old guy now isn't responsible for some sort of like patriarchal, advantage that his great grandfather had. And so like you can't use the patriarchy as like a reason to like tell a guy that this is the reason why you're a loser. And I think that's what really makes a lot of guys mad is that they're effectively... You're basically giving people original sin. You're saying like, well, because your grandfather, your great grandfather, like whenever he grew up, he had advantages. Now, we're going to treat you badly and act like those advantages still exist. And there's like that lingering resentment and animosity that is culturally acceptable, I think, in a lot of cases. And you can just look at Twitter and you can see how culturally acceptable it is. Even look at mainstream media or like look at like, daytime talk shows. That is extremely damaging to men's mental health. To be told that you constantly have all of these advantages and the world is handed to you whenever you exist in a world where opportunities categorically exclude you from existing.
Which is probably why 40% of young men aged 18 to 45 meet the criteria for depression, and 49% of 18 to 23-year-olds have had a thought of passing themselves in the past 2 weeks alone.
Hard really to say if that's comparable. I think that probably those numbers went up for women as well, too. I think social media and the internet's brain rot for everybody. But, you know, I think that for guys, it also is bad. But, like, if you look at it from, like, I don't think this is a male-only problem. A lot of these issues are, like, meta-level society issues that affect men and women. Obviously, the way that you approach it for men is different. And, you know, men and women have unique struggles. But I think also this is something, you know, a rising tide floats all boats, or a rising tide floats all toasters in a bathtub. Anyway,
and we're seeing the symptoms of this problem everywhere. The sapping away of our vision and ambition permeates in all aspects of modern society today. Our culture, architecture, relationships, bodies and minds. Past civilizations before us have always placed their emphasis on beauty, wisdom and logic for all the population to see, with great town squares, bustling with art, life and community. These things were placed above all else as the bedrock of their societies, laying out a code of honor and struggle in its people to achieve greatness. Comforts were shown in—
There is no more virtue that is assigned to critical thinking and logic. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, and I think that, like, anti-intellectualism isn't really something that's new in American culture, but I think it's become so pervasive in, like, widespread American and also Western culture that it's become extremely harmful. It's like an unironic, like, I think that we've become a little bit inferior to where we used to be. I do. Absolutely. There is so much less of an emphasis, and, like, thinking for yourself gets you into so many fucking, like, you can trap yourself by thinking for yourself because you go outside of the box that you're supposed to exist in.
Art and culture, but as an aspiration for achieving something great, for following your mastery. But today our cities are mostly devoid of all of this character, and instead they're marked out by the most cost-efficient, bland and sterile designs to facilitate a simpler self-motivated purpose. It's why people flock all over the world to a handful of remaining cities that retain their centuries-old charm to feel and experience the character of bygone societies that were motivated by higher ideals. Ideals greater than our modern two-dimensional ways of thinking. With a prioritization of comfort, lust and opulence and flashy materialism over individual excellence and greater community, we're now reeling in the aftermath, becoming—
I think it's that people have been divorced from being able to hope for anything better than what they already have. That's the real reason. Like, you see this all the time, like, because it's true that working hard will make you, like, working hard will increase the probability that you will be successful. But I think that, like, the reason why video games are so popular and so many young guys like video games is because video games provide a guarantee that if you grind and you work hard at something, you'll see a result. Whereas in real life, a lot of times that doesn't happen. I think that it's actually, like, that's why young men are drawn to video games a lot. It's because they're an equal playing field in a way that nothing else in the world really provides them.
Still a generation of mandated mediocrity. And does this explain why men today seem to struggle more than ever while seemingly having more than ever? America in particular is not actually in a recession. In fact, on paper, the economy looks like the best it's been in a while. Unemployment has dropped, GDP is up, but what the people are actually experiencing is a completely different story. We can see this in a study by the University of Michigan on consumer sentiment, which gathers data based on how consumers feel about the current state of finances. In 2022, it dropped to an all-time low. Prices of our average daily needs like gas and food have increased in unbearable percentages. In contrast,
the problem is that while the GDP has gone up by a tremendous amount, this is, you know, I'm gonna have a Bernie Sanders moment here, is that it's the 1% that is enjoying those privileges. And I think that a really good way to tell is that I remember looking up when, like, I first started, like, this is kind of like a weird thing to say, but, like, I remember somebody asked me, like, am I in the top 1% for, like, income earners? And I remember looking it up whenever my stream first got popular, and then I looked it up maybe last year, and the top 1% for income earners has gone up by, like, 30% in the last 5 years. So, like, the very, very wealthy are becoming increasingly more wealthy, and then the people in the middle are experiencing stagnation, and then the people who are poor are just basically, like, I mean, who cares? Rich get richer. Yeah, exactly. COVID made the gap way worse. Yeah, and, like, there's obviously, like, very traditional, you know, like, economic indicators, like a Gini index or something like that. But I think that also, like, we can just simply go to the grocery store And like, you know, I'm like going through old receipts when I'm cleaning my house, and I'm looking at like a 2011 receipt, and like I buy a meal and it's $5.80. There it is, right? It's right in front of you. Kind of like we're in the new Middle Ages. Oh yeah, no, we are advancing at light speed towards neo-feudalism. And it's already happening in abstract ways, such as DoorDash and things similar to that. Other types of delivery and service programs. That's the first step.
Salary increases do not match, putting a high strain on budgets.
Inflation is showing no...
And this will also become increasingly more powerful when the... again, you know, maybe a Hassan moment, Bernie Sanders moment, where the means of production are consolidated by a small handful of people, and AI allows that that control to maintain itself, because AI will consolidate the means of production among fewer people. It's a really huge problem, and I wish more people would see it from like a macroeconomic level. But I think that it's really disappointing to see everybody that's like everybody gets like really in the weeds about like identity politics and stuff. Because I feel like all of that, in my opinion, I think identity politics and the entire like all of the vitriol and animosity and discord that's created by identity politics, I think that it's done intentionally. This is a conspiracy, by the way. Might take another vacation for this. I think that it's done intentionally by elites and by the people who own mainstream media and by you know, the people who basically are in charge, in order to get people fighting with each other rather than fighting against the people that are oppressing them. I think it's no surprise that identity politics went up. Like, I mean, you can see, like, have you guys seen the charts of like the usage of the words like woke or usage of the words like intersectional or something like that? Like a lot of these, like, you know, new age identity politics vocabulary. I think it's no coincidence that vocabulary started ramping up massively right after Occupy Wall Street. I just think that's a really interesting coincidence. What are the odds?
Signs of slowing down as Americans pay over $1,000 a month more on the same essentials we were buying 3 years ago. Nothing's changed but price. The latest consumer price index for March showing basic necessities like our food, housing, and gas are all continuing to cripple Americans' wallets
crazy.
with higher prices.
I can't imagine food only being up by 2%.
Our wages are actually down against inflation since Biden took office. So not only are prices soaring, but you know, our wages, at least if you measure hourly wages, are not keeping up at all.
Keeping your head above water has become the new normal instead of owning a home with a white picket fence. The rich...
My understanding is that 2/3 of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. I thought it was like 30%, and I found out it was in fact like double that. It's incredible.
Becoming richer.
That guy does look, you know who he looked like? You know in Firelink Shrine in Dark Souls 1? Cramped?
And the poor are becoming poorer, with the middle class disintegrating completely. All the knowledge of the past of just going to college, getting a job, and buying a home immediately is just completely irrelevant for anyone working and living in 2024. Universities are...
It's not irrelevant. People, like, I have a lot of friends, like, I'm 34, and I have a lot of friends. The majority of my friends that are the same age as me make over $100,000 a year, and this is not counting people that stream. These are, like, long-time real-life friends.
Skyrocketed in prices to absurd levels. The housing market is in a complete giant bubble. Everyone's sending out job applications more and more, all while using these automated testing systems, applying up to 100 jobs a day and still not getting anywhere. All the while major companies repeatedly tell us that they can't find any workers for their companies. And
because the job prospect is terrible and people hate the job. That's the reason why. It's really simple. And also, I'm not saying that, like, it's not true, like, people don't have problems. All I'm saying is that there are a lot of people who still do make the American dream happen, but it's harder to do, and the barrier to entry for it is a lot higher. And I think that because the barrier to entry has gotten so high, it's become it's not realistic. It's purely luck? No, it's not purely luck. That's not true. Like, I know a lot of people that I went to high school with that are losers. Well, they were losers because they were lazy and they fucked off in school and they were stupid. No, a lot of people are successful because they work hard. It's nepotism? No. I don't know. I'm trying to think. Not a single one of the people that I'm using as an example obtained their job through nepotism. Luck plays a factor with everything, but so does hard work.
Results of this are clear. People are drifting towards more unfulfilling jobs, or just not even having a job at all, while the rich buy up resources, real estate, and everything that used to be the cornerstones of the middle class, that is now just an investment hidden through an offshore bank account for some giant investment fund.
This is a crazy exploit. I'm surprised that they haven't patched this. Well, I guess not, because they are the ones that are probably writing the laws.
What they want to do is create a nation of renters. BlackRock coming in and giving them more money than the house is
You'll
worth.
own nothing and be happy.
How much more do they give them?
They can give them, 30% above.
Really?
Which is money.
And then they just
it's
lease those
BlackRock.
homes out.
And they lease them out. It's part of this idea that home ownership and automobile ownership and all of these things, these legacy systems that people want to get rid of. And they go, rent a house, use Uber, Lyft, whatever.
Yep.
You don't need to own. What does owning do for you? That's that famous article, you'll own nothing and be happy.
He said the thing.
And because of this, all saving plans for regular people are halted because living paycheck to paycheck means there just isn't enough for a savings plan. And whilst there is still some hope to dig your way out,
I was actually having a conversation with a friend of mine about this the other day. And he was talking to me like, we were talking about like investments and stuff. And he's like, yeah, like I want to invest, but I just don't really, I can't put aside a lot of money to do it. And it's like, it sucks because like you're basically on like the hamster wheel. And it's like, there's not really there's no light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's why people just get off the wheel, get out of the tunnel, and then they go back into the basement and then they withdraw from society.
This does begin a damaged path. People end up working in a job that's not in their field, something that they hate to do every day, and eliminates the experience they need for the job in their field. And so
this is something that happens a lot, where I think that most people that go out to get jobs, people look for jobs that they don't completely hate, but primarily I think that people go to college to get a job that makes more money. Most people have their jobs for money first and passion second, if that's even a factor.
the experience they are getting is just completely useless for getting back on track. In effect, their now entry-level position is further deviating them from becoming lawyers, psychologists, or whichever career path they studied for. And if the middle class is experiencing this, then the lower earners are feeling this even more. The jobs they once had a chance of landing now go to the middle class, AI while they get hit a bump lower, which is putting millions of people in dire straits. They face working twice as hard for minimum wage, juggling between jobs, partaking in the gig economy with absolutely no security, all with an extreme
This is the feudalism.
To keep up with daily expenses in a completely overpriced megacity. And the truth is, both middle and lower earners are now taking a huge hit to their egos. They feel disrespected through no fault of their own. There's no
well, it's because you live in a society that doesn't allow you to have self-respect. I think that this is one of the reasons why there's a lot of violence in America too. It's like a macro level problem, is that you basically, if you don't have, like, if you're not affluent to an extent, it's almost like you don't deserve respect in society.
And wants to feel like a failure. They don't want to feel like they're not providing or on their destiny. Imagine putting in the hours and effort to get a degree and then
like you can look at it like this, right? Like back when my dad was in high school, people would bring their shotguns to school, right? They would like leave them in the car. There weren't school shootings that were happening all the time. And I think that as the economy has gotten worse and as people have lost the sense of community and culture, and as people have stopped being able to rely on and look forward to a future that's like good, then I think that you have that nihilism set in. And that's why I think that that's one of the, again, school shootings, there's 50 reasons why they happen, but I think that's at least a couple of them.
to take a job that's not even within the field you studied for. Well, this is just regular life for most people nowadays. It's making men feel incredibly depressed and isolated. They watch all this stuff on social media, they see people flexing the Rolexes on their Instagram stories. Meanwhile, they're struggling to survive, living a life they absolutely hate. And when friends and family ask about it, they suffer the humiliation of explaining why they had to take what was available. Even though it isn't humiliating at all, and they're doing what they can to survive, it definitely takes a huge effect on their mental health.
I think that like the conspicuous nature of things like streaming, for example, and also OnlyFans is also really damaging for people's mental health because they see certain people that have opportunities and advantages that are sometimes unearned. Like, for example, like if you're born a hot girl and you're able to do OnlyFans, you have a huge advantage in life, right? Especially early on. And obviously, if you're doing that, you're making $100K a month. This is a massive advantage that a 21-year-old guy is going to not really have. He's not going to have that. And so I think that the conspicuous nature of wealth inequality on social media really fucks with people's mental health.
Especially as it wasn't that long ago, where it was actually normal to enter the workforce with a mentor who would show you the ropes and encourage you and push you to...
Yeah, well, here's the funny thing. If that Hawk Tuah girl wasn't conventionally attractive, we wouldn't even know her name. That's the truth. Straight up.
Learn more. Starting at the bottom didn't seem so bad because there was an opportunity to grow and reap more rewards, but this imperative step is slowly slipping away. Companies of prestige have forgotten the generation with no experience, and for many companies this is what they want. This is actually the ideal scenario, where they have people so desperate, so in need of experience, that they can treat their workers like absolute trash.
Well, because the reason why they're being treated like trash is because they're only 3 years away from being replaced by a robot. That's the reason why. It's because the job is effectively like, it's like an Amazon warehouse. You used to pick up a box and put it somewhere else. Like, of course they're not going to give a shit about you. Yeah.
In the 1980s, testosterone levels have dropped more than 50%, and yet we're told to ignore it. Why? Because there's a coordinated effort to suppress masculinity and turn men into something they were never meant to be. This decline is no accident. We're constantly exposed to harmful chemicals in our food and everyday products, bombarded with estrogenic chemicals from plastics, junk food, and sedentary lifestyles, which is why testosterone levels...
That's actually a really good point. Like, it's weird because, like, so whenever I was on mandatory break, I was like exercising and like doing things physically like 4 to 6 hours a day because I was like cleaning up all the stuff in the house. I felt so much better. Straight up. Like I immediately felt way fucking better. It is fat Jake Paul, it is. But like, no, I did. And it was like not even close.
Have been declining for decades, with a 17% drop among 60-year-olds in 2004 compared to 1987. Sperm count and strength in men are also decreasing exponentially, with a 32.5% decrease in mean sperm concentration in the last 50 years. But here's the good news, there are ways to fight back, and one of the most effective solutions that I found is our sponsor Black Forest's Testosterone with CatDany. This supplement is packed with 2 of the most powerful natural testosterone boosters available. Testosterone is a natural anabolic compound that helps increase muscle growth, boost recovery, and support higher testosterone levels. CatDany, used for centuries, helps raise testosterone, reduce stress, and improve overall vitality. I've been using Black Forest's Testosterone and CatDany, and I've noticed a huge improvement in my energy, strength, and focus. It's like getting back the edge that modern life was just draining away. Right now, Black Forest is offering a buy 2 get 1 free deal.
I think supplements can be good. Like I don't think that you should use supplements as a solution to problems without doing lab work first, personally. Like, you should get your labs done and have lab work done before you start, you know, like, can have a doctor look at it and give you feedback. But after that, like, you want to take a supplement, that's totally fair. I think a lot of it is a lack of, like, a bad diet and a lack of physical activity. I think that the human body is made to move. You're made to exist. You're made to live. And if you live a life that is a contrived, like, weird version of what an animal version of yourself would do, like, you think about it, right? And like, you look at like our evolutionary period, right? Like, this is, you know, Cro-Magnon, this is 2024. Think about how much time period, what a tiny little fraction of like evolution that we've really had, where the expectation was not that you were physically moving around all the time. Do you really think that evolution changes that fast? Absolutely not.
Limited edition product, and once it's gone for good. I can personally vouch for its effectiveness. It's had a huge difference in my energy levels, strength, sleep, and overall well-being. And by supporting our sponsors, you also support us directly. So hurry and take advantage of this amazing 48-hour promo and support me alongside this amazing brand using the link in the description below. The cost of having a job also plays a part in stripping them of their dignity. Transport costs to their job, depending on the amount, could take a huge chunk of their salary, so that at the end of the day, they can only pay for rent or food and not both. A government grant could replace their salaries, and they earn more or less the same amount.
What's also helping to pay the bills is, as I said, the U.S. government, in particular, our disability programs for people who are unable to work. Those programs seem to have morphed away from their original humane intention and now seem to provide an alternative income source to...
This is my dad's here. What's up? Okay. Yeah, be careful. I fell down the stairs the other day.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
The steps, the right proportion.
Let me get this shit off the thing.
I forgot to give you this last night.
Oh,
fucking
fuck.
believe
Oh,
it.
thanks. I appreciate that. Look at that. We got the Reese's peanut butter cups. How about that? Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Well,
Thank you very
different
much.
shapes.
Yeah. It's got the little, the ghosts and the jack-o'-lanterns and everything like that.
Yeah, and he was over last night, too.
Yeah, yeah. We watched Fury. That was really fucking good.
Yeah, the
I love
second
that
half.
movie. Oh, my God. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just watching a movie. So, like, why do you think that guys don't want to work anymore?
Same reason guys never did. I mean, most...
Well, like now, like guys are like way more depressed. They feel like they're like they don't have like a future or anything like that. Like, why do you think that is? Because like my dad's 77, right?
Well,
That's
I
crazy.
don't know.
Right?
That's
Yeah.
your fucking generation. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess my folks didn't want to make it easy on me.
Yeah.
I mean, I went to work. I had my first, I had a time clock when I was 11 years old.
Oh, right. The safe shop.
Fixing bike.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
And then, I hustled money
Mm-hmm.
and had to take care of my brother and sister. And then I went to
Is
work.
that finding a lot of bikes?
Used to, finding bikes and finding all kinds of shit.
Yeah, yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
you find a lot of stuff at 2 o'clock in the morning.
It's crazy.
And,
Yeah.
just lying around.
Yeah, it's something.
And so sometimes it's too much to haul home, so you'd have to get a wagon too.
Well, that's why you got the bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you get a wagon.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. The red one.
Yeah. Tie it behind the bike, drove it on home.
No, it's been a big thing. Like a lot of guys talk about it now because like it's like you have a lot of opportunities, but like you can't, like there aren't jobs where it's like you just put the fender onto a Ford, every day.
And plus, I mean, they just the way that like when I was doing the process engineering.
Oh, with Jim. Yeah.
Yeah, with Jim. Oh yeah, it was a great job. The two Bobs.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And we somebody or a couple of people lost their jobs because of that. And so, and then...
Well, that was your job.
But yeah, it was to make them lose their job.
Yeah.
And that's after I retired,
Yeah, yeah.
And they've just done away and then they took those people did work.
Uh-huh.
And so they put those jobs on somebody else.
Right.
So how many people you hear about that have got
Well, you were telling me about this with because you were thinking about getting a part-time job at just like 10 years ago, like at Home Depot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And now they got the guys doing the automatic stocking, and they can't, attend to the customers.
Yeah.
So the manager's always on their ass, and it's like the IRS.
Yeah.
You're supposed to process an ITIN request for in like 6 minutes.
We were to get a 3, you had to process 120 documents an hour.
Yeah. And some process engineer came in and figured
these are
that
like W-2s or like 1040s. And it's like, there's no way you can process 120 1040s in an hour without just like speed running it. Like if you actually read it. Yeah.
That's what Larry did. My buddy Larry.
Larry didn't give a fuck.
Larry
He did not give a fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, he did give a fuck. They always were honest to,
Yeah.
oh, do, 10 an hour, 8 an hour, whatever the fuck it was. And so, he cranked them out. He made that. However, he never found a fraud. Amazing, because out of the 20, when you got batches of 25, out of 25, I find at least 5.
Yeah.
With, somebody's registered as Domingo Sanchez, and then you got somebody else Sanchez and somebody else Domingo, and they got this address, and you put it together.
Well, it's like, I probably don't want to give away who it is, but like, remember the 2 people that we know whose aunts, would have kids?
Yeah.
That were...
Yeah. Exactly. That was another one.
Yeah. That was
all my children. It's all my children.
Yeah. It's my 11 kids.
I always have a kid under 15.
Yeah. Wow. What a surprise.
Wow, what a surprise. And so it's that kind of shit. You're under the gun.
Yeah.
Who the fuck? So many people don't like their jobs. I told you
people.
that.
Well, that's why people can't a lot of companies complain because they can't get anybody to get a job anymore.
Yeah. Well, who the fuck wants to work there?
It sucks.
I mean, you're under the gun constantly. So some fuck up the road. I mean, like that vice president I told you about at Harcourt.
Yeah.
He in order to he quit. He left the company, and they separated for $1 million. And this was in like 1984 or 5 or something.
So
like
we're
that.
talking about like $7 million now, something like that.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
5.
probably, yeah, 5.
No, it's nuts,
5,
yeah,
probably. And for a non-compete clause for a year.
Yep.
So basically, what he did was he took some of that money and he went around and visited all of his friends.
Consulting.
Schmoozed up, and no, he couldn't do consulting.
Oh, it wasn't.
He just went and schmoozed, made all of his business connections, and then whammo was making more money than ever. And that's it. It all gets pushed up the line. So who the fuck wants to work for that?
Exactly.
And plus,
meanwhile, you're getting paid like $18 an hour, and you're on call at 3 a.m.
you end up with a work week like my standard work week when I went to work for Scotty's after the Army. It'd be 72 or something like that.
Yeah.
Was 52 hours on the clock.
Right.
And we always did overtime, so I was like 55 hours a week on the clock.
Right. That's nuts.
And,
Holy fuck.
Yeah. And I went to college besides that.
Yeah.
And I got drunked out of my ass every fucking night.
What it is. Yeah.
Got in fights. That's when they went down. Was down at the ABC lounge.
Yeah.
I think I took you in there, didn't I?
You did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I never saw your Uncle Gary look so small.
Oh, yeah? Is that right?
Oh, man, he just shrunk up at the bar.
Yeah?
Oh. Buddy of mine, Big John, pulls out, I forget what he called the knife, and he starts talking.
He had a name for it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's like a woman's name?
Yeah, I think it was.
Right,
yes. But it might have been something like Bloodlet or something like some fucking name. And one day he ran out in front of the car when I was with your mom.
Yeah.
And he's like this huge guy.
Right, yeah.
And we were in the MG, so he could just about touch a windshield,
right.
And she says, "Holy shit, what's this?" It was on Haynes Road, which is a pretty bad area. And I say, "Hey, John," He says, "Oh, man, I haven't seen you for a long time." Whole home week,
Yeah, of course.
But but anyway, I used to work my ass off, but I was with my buddy Roy, who was my size. Yeah. We were both truck drivers, and we'd hump about 2 tons a day.
Yeah.
Humping that shit back and forth to building supplies.
You're a truck driver?
Mostly to contractors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and delivering it. And there were no helpers.
Yeah.
There were no of these fucking fancy hernia belts.
Like they have those Chinese workers have like exoskeletons now.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Yeah, it's nuts. It's
totally
crazy.
Cool. Boy, you know what the military must have.
They have remember that movie Elysium?
Yeah, I know.
Exactly,
yeah, right? Yeah, and there's another one, too, with some gal that's in the...
right.
Yeah, I forget that one. Yeah, I didn't watch it because it's fucking, Supergirl again. And that's the other thing, is we're just getting squashed.
Well, I was saying, it's like every opportunity is for women. Like, it's like, oh, well, this is another way to get women. This is an opportunity for women. So, like, if you're a guy, it's like you're constantly, like, because, guys, like 100 years ago, 50 years ago, guys had a lot of advantages in life, right? I mean, for sure, right?
No, sure.
Well,
Yeah.
of course. But, like, now, it's like if you're a 20-year-old guy, you've got a massive fucking disadvantage against a woman, right? And, like, I think it's evident by the, like, graduation rates for college.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy.
College is aimed more at girls. It's a cooperative environment. It's like George Carlin's opposition of football and baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Where baseball is a pastoral sport.
Yeah.
Football is a technological sport.
Of course.
And you run around to home. And so that's the way it is. That's academia was wonderful.
Yeah.
You got giant pay for sitting around and just hanging out, talking about shit you feel like talking about.
Yeah.
But it was I couldn't get with the program because they were all the time trashing businesses.
Right.
And corporations are paying most of the shit.
Of course.
Why do you think they named the business school after the two business schools here?
Yeah, McCombs and McCoys. Yeah. Who the fuck are McComb and McCoy? Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they're the biggest car dealers.
Yeah, what a surprise.
I don't know what it is with fucking car dealers, but they're making the big bucks.
Well, cars are expensive.
And also, like I said with Roy,
yeah,
he was my buddy, and there was that,
the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my boss was real good about building that up. Mm-hmm. And it's like Tetone's dad was talking about staying in the army for the camaraderie.
Yeah.
And it was great. Yeah, it's what's called Comitatus.
Yeah.
Warrior band.
Uh-huh.
And I grew up in that. I mean, I had women that were my friends.
Yeah.
And I would go and talk with them, but and then there was two women I would go with. There was the ones I went out on dates with, and there were the ones that I went out and I screwed.
Yeah.
We
right.
fucked,
Mm-hmm.
And everything went great until I fucked up with your mom. But
yeah.
What can I say?
It's what it is.
Yeah. So I ended up cleaning the house for 20 years.
Uh-huh.
Well,
the house is pretty clean now, right?
I didn't get a chance to look at it. I just came in the door and came upstairs.
Yeah. Well, take a look.
But the picture would look good. I mean, better.
Yeah. No,
better.
Well, we got to take that other stuff to Salvation Army because like every box down there is spoken for in one way or another. Like it's going somewhere that's not in that room.
Well, Chad's back. And
oh yeah.
He's once working and.
Yeah, the other one.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
He can work on the weekends,
mm-hmm.
but anyway, you lose all of that.
Yeah.
I read that 40. They did some kind of a poll. 40% of people who have jobs, jobs.
Yeah.
They want to be high influencers.
Oh, yeah. Everybody.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I was saying this, right? It's like it fucks with people's mental health whenever they see, like, some idiot like me who's, like, making a bunch of money and I'm streaming, and then they're sitting there working at a job that they fucking hate. Yeah, absolutely, they're fucking mad. Like, 100%, that's like, that hurts people's mental health.
And, well, actually, it seems to act as kind of a motivator if there was more of an
ecosystem.
Just more openings for, but people are inventing shit all the time.
They do.
They got these, what do you call them, podcasts?
Well, you have, like, the problem now is, like, if you're on the internet, like, you have the opportunity to make money in a way that, like, other people never had. But it also, like, it took out, like, that bottom 30% of, like, intelligence/education people. And it's like, what are you going to do with those people? And I think those are the ones that are getting, like, super disenfranchised. Because, like, those, like, low-end, like, manual labor, like, relatively high to low-skill jobs that, like, you just get better at over 30 years that you get a pension for, they're just gone.
And for years, the whole thing was, if you want your children to get ahead, you send them to college. Make sure they go to college and get a degree, and then they'll get a great paying job and all. Mm-hmm. Well, now, I mean, and so to make sure everybody got a job and that the professors got paid and all that kind of shit,
Yeah.
and running the whole deal, they just were running, the classes just got dumber and dumber. And it was dumbed down classes. And I was considered a real dick, you know, because I actually expected my students to pass this shit. And
yeah, my dad used to be a college professor, and he taught statistics and
statistics. Yeah,
yeah, people
statistics
didn't like
and,
that. Yeah.
Experimental methods in the behavioral research. I forget what the hell the course was, but it was a Skinner course, you know, with the rat boxes where the rats press the bar and you know, all that kind of shit.
Yep, the Skinner box.
And I got the only paid position on the campus.
Yeah.
Which was another way I scared up money.
Yeah.
And but that was a great job, and everybody was kind of expecting my professors. I was, you know, your mom and I both aced all our classes, and so they were expecting us to go into to academia, but the attitude was just. And it was too fucking liberal for me. I mean, not that I'm not a, you know.
Yeah, no.
I'm an independent.
Yeah.
And unlike him, I had to vote because I have so right to the bone, taught by my grandfather, to thoroughly hate, and I do thoroughly hate, have thoroughly hated Trump's guts ever since the 70s. And you know the video of him walking between the two, like RVs or whatever the fuck they are, and the guy's talking to him, and he's talking about putting his hand up some women's skirts and shit. And I was thinking at the time, I don't watch that kind of shit during the day. I don't watch any TV during the day.
Yeah,
just watch it at night when I'm wiped, and I'm kind of very relaxed, you know. And so. But I was at my barber shop or some fucking place, and that was on. That show was on in 1979. You know, back when your parents were in elementary school.
Well, that was another one. The Trump one was from like 2000 or the 90s.
That was a 1979 interview, I think. No, that one was later.
That was another instance of him being an asshole.
Yes, that was another one.
Yeah.
And that would explain it. Was probably over at Missy's.
Yeah.
But I saw that. The guy's a grown man, and I'm thinking, what are you, fucking 12 years old?
Yeah.
I mean, what the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah.
And you know, and now all these evangelicals are backing him, and I just tell them straight fucking out. If you're for Jesus, you can't be for Trump, or if you're for Trump, you can't be a Christian. I mean, how can you possibly be a Christian when you're backing the guy who's broken just about every fucking rule in your book? Yeah. And he holds a Bible upside down when he's talking about it, and except when he's holding his own Bible. And you got to listen to the song at the end.
You know he had Trump Bible, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, of course.
I'm talking about his Bible.
Right, yeah, Trump Bible.
His Bible.
Yeah.
Yeah, the real Bible.
Right.
You know, that has in the back the Constitution. Okay, fine.
Yeah, sure.
And you got to use up those extra pages and, you know. But the best part is the song for God Bless America with the Trump hitters that he plays at all his rallies. Oh my God. I mean, you know, riding around on a garbage truck, he belongs in the fucking back, you know, and if they can possibly compost that bloated.
We're not gonna. I don't want to get another suspension after the third assassination attempt.
I'm expressing a political opinion.
Well, that's what I thought too, but I got in trouble.
No, that was a cultural thing. Okay. And I told you not to say that.
You did.
I told you specifically not to say that.
You did. You said being an asshole. Yep, for sure.
And I said, don't say that another culture is inferior. Well, it's still what it is.
Okay.
And you know. Sociology 101 back in 1966 it's not like this is a new concept,
Uh-huh.
you know, and Jesus.
Okay.
And the fact is, you know, they want to live like that, or you know,
Who gives a fuck?
just
Yeah.
like the African dudes
Yeah.
that put the tires around somebody's head, pouring gasoline and set it on fire. You want to do
Have
that?
fun.
Hey, have at it. Just don't come here.
Yeah, sounds good.
And I mean, you know, try to imagine too, you know, Palestinian-wise. Try to imagine if a bunch of Canadians or even Mexicans. Well, that happened before. Mexicans did make raids across the border with Pancho Villa, and so they said Blackjack Pershing, you know, badass dude, kick-ass World War I. But this is before that. Down there, and they just had a slaughter fest of these poor Mexicans that they lived and pissed off Mexicans. I'd be really pissed off.
Yeah.
Because it was their country.
It was.
But, you know, hey.
That's what happens.
That's the American way.
Yeah, manifest destiny.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, it's just, you know, snatch and grab, you know. I mean, that's the way it goes.
Well, I gotta get back to it.
Anyway,
Thanks for bringing this over. I'll take you down real quick, and if you guys give me just a couple of minutes, I want to show my dad some of the stuff I did in the house because he hasn't been over.
And hey, you guys, and greetings. Always appreciate all the good things you say when I come on here. I mean, it's always amazing when I call in. So thank you again, and I'll see you around.
All right, give just a couple minutes, guys. Do you still want to do that thing later on today?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Regular employment for several millions, for millions and millions of these guys.
If a job doesn't support your basic needs of a home, food, and transport, it wears thin in justifying the effort for this job.
Yeah, why
especially
do
if
it?
you're not getting any experience. And in most cases, if you go into the gig economy, absolutely no security either. All for minimum wage. There's even a new term called quietly quitting, where you do the bare minimum of your job to the point that you're almost rendered useless and you get fired or simply quit. The fact that this term even exists shows that attention is desperately needed to solve this problem. And while this is happening, it's becoming more and more common for both partners in a household to be living the same life, or even with most male partners actually being the breadwinner. And whilst this isn't necessarily a problem at all, it is leading to some weird modern problems in the household. Men with families are actually switching their roles with their wives, except they're not actually doing what their wives would do if they were to stay at home.
They're just doing nothing, sitting around playing video games. How about that? It's pretty good.
When you look at what I guess in Britain is called NEET, N-E-E-T, do you say that also?
Yeah, that's the way you say it.
So in Australia, neither employed nor in education or training. When you look at that huge group of well over 6 million prime age men, the story they're telling about their lives is really pretty devastating. It's pretty distressing. They basically don't do civil society. There's almost no worship, almost no volunteering, almost no charitable work. They've got a lot of time on their hands, but they report doing strangely little help around the home or help with other people at home.
Because of the situation.
Well, because fuck them, you're going to play video games all day. What do you want to help them with anything for? Like, fuck society. I just want to play games. It's that simple.
Some men may feel a sense of worthlessness and resentment.
Yeah,
Some men
what do
might
you
take
mean?
an hour to clean up the house and fetch the kids, but the rest of the day they sleep or play games. In some cases, the wives work and then come home to finish the chores their husbands were meant to do but didn't. And whilst this might cause huge marriage problems, it still feels better off to the husbands. If asked what they do for a living, saying they're on a break or working on a project beats the humiliation of saying they work in McDonald's with a useless degree on their back.
Exactly.
Men without families have nothing to lose, so they stop working because no woman would even want them anyway. They can't afford.
This is the problem too, is like if you're a dude and you're broke, like that's a massive fucking debuff. That's a crazy debuff. That's bad. And also because like usually women want to date guys that make as much money as they do or more, right? This is just like, you know, cultural type thing. So yeah.
To date, they can't afford a family, and since their own families are supportive, it somehow justifies them giving up and staying at home, rather than facing these societal problems head on. With prices rising, getting hired becoming harder and harder by the day, and inequality becoming rampant within society, most men are just deciding to give up. Because instead of facing the hardships of having a job, it just seems so much easier to escape. Whether it be terminally being online, playing video games all day, or hiding behind doing chores at home to show they still have a purpose and are doing their best. The point being that for many men in 2024, if they're gonna be disrespected and feel worthless, they may as well choose the easy way out than a battle. If
fucking obviously, if you divorce a person from any sense of self-respect, you take away any sense of like feeling good about what you're doing with yourself, and you're just having that happen, yes, they're going to completely lose motivation to do anything with their life.
Had a currency on how it would affect your life directly,
why would they?
You would see a different picture. A man with a job with high pressure, long hours, and doing something that makes him feel degraded would be worth, say, $100, but staying at home, playing games, and escaping, all while being with the people he loves, is probably worth $200 because of how it affects him. This explains why more and more men are deciding to drop out of society rather than face it head on, as it just seems to be the easier path.
Well, it's because if you're a guy, like, how many of you guys feel like shit's rigged against you? Like, I feel like in a lot of cases, like as a young guy, like you've got things rigged against you. Yeah, absolutely. So why try? Why play a game that is rigged? Fuck that. Have you ever been in this position yourself? Yeah, of course. My perspective was always that I would get by doing anything I wanted. I never felt bad for doing anything because I didn't ask to exist in society. And if I don't, like, I don't know, I just never really thought about it, to be honest. I never really, like, considered it. So, yeah, I would just do anything that I wanted or anything that I could to make money. And it was no issue. It's a loser mentality. It is a loser mentality for sure. It's bad mentality to have. But I think also, like, it's easier to get that mentality nowadays, for sure.
It's a choice between two paths, one that offers little satisfaction while the other provides comfort. It's easy to see why men are going this route. But the thing is, this is a terrible mistake. And this is creating problems that we've never seen before. If there is no emphasis or any facilitation of the need to aspire to something greater and the game seems rigged to most who are playing it, it's hardly a surprise record numbers of men are dropping out and giving up on the game entirely.
That's right.
The problem is that there's a huge group of men, roughly about
masturbate to anime girls and play video games. That's all you do.
7 million in America between the ages of 25 and 55 who are no
This is also a really important component when unemployment is being discussed, is that a lot of unemployment figures are created and like basically sourced in a way that they intentionally remove people that are not actively looking for a job. But like if you look at like basically it's like true unemployment versus like statistical like unemployment. Huge factor.
And are actively not looking for work. Now, COVID certainly had a hand in accelerating these figures. One question posed to these dropouts was how many of these men were on pain medication, and almost half of these men admitted to taking pain medication daily. And aside from those who desperately need it, these figures could indicate that men are aimlessly numbing themselves to their new reality. And this is great for society as people don't have to deal with this huge problem. And what's even
I think another big reason why people are on a lot of pain medication too is because there's no physical activity. And I think that a body that's not moving and being physically active on a regular basis develops different types of disorders and problems that result in pain. I think that's what happens.
More shocking is that 40% of these men do have some kind of degree.
What sort of men are in this group? Demographically, education, family structure, ethnicity, who makes up this group?
Yeah.
Surprisingly large, representation of guys with college or even college degrees. 40% of this group has at least some college, and as I recall, about a fifth or a sixth are college grads.
The decision to be in this state is closely related to changing times. We've already discussed the effects of brain rot in another upload, which disabled problem solving in Generation C and has already presented problems in finding jobs. They are quick to quit at the first
kids now are dumb.
And move on to find something else.
Gen Z considers themselves job hoppers, study says. Yeah, that's because there's no sense of loyalty to a job. And the reason why younger people aren't loyal to jobs is because jobs aren't loyal to them. It's reciprocation, really.
But what happens when options run dry and they find themselves simply stuck in limbo? Giving up seems to be the next step, and accepting that is easy when they're discouraged by the situation. Working off of surveys, the data compiled indicates that these men are not only not working, but they're cutting themselves off from their communities, or there's no incentivization for them to even have any community in the first place. They're hiding out because
the sense of community is created by social status. So like, why do you want to be part of a community when your social status is very low? Like, you're basically like signing up to be at the bottom of the totem pole. Why would you want to do that?
Going out would mean meeting new people who might oppose their lifestyles. It makes it uncomfortable. Why leave when you can just aimlessly watch brain rot content and numb yourself with weed or pain medication and stay inside in the warm comfort of home? And any sexual needs you have can be satisfied with pixels on a screen. This lifestyle is increasingly becoming more and more normal for men in the West.
Yeah. My mail on it, yeah.
But what's important to note is that men don't want to be this way. It's a horrible lifestyle, it's depressing, it's atomizing. What this really is just a coping mechanism or a form of self-defense against a society that's becoming increasingly hostile to these men. Up until recently, the problem has been invisible. These figures weren't shown in any statistics or surveys because they slipped through the cracks until very recently. So why did they slip through the cracks? Well, it's easy to see. They simply don't fit the victim criteria. Some have degrees, they're in the prime of their lives, and it was their choice to quit. It's easily overlooked and only comes to light as the numbers rise. Nicholas Upstart wrote a book called Men Without Work and has since exposed and addressed the problems in his book.
That's nuts. God damn, look at all that. That's like a double.
He says he is trained to look for hidden in plain sight problems, which is how he stumbled upon this issue. You see, these men are not causing trouble, at least for now, and they don't seem to be drawing any attention to themselves. On the contrary, they keep to themselves. So surveys and statistics just don't include them at all. They don't even register on the scale, and people in society think this is a joke issue. And it's also reasonable.
That's another big issue too, is that it's socially acceptable to shit on guys for not being successful in culture. And I think that like, there aren't really the same sort of support groups and support networks that men have compared to women. And I think also another big issue is that the support groups that exist for men are oftentimes more toxic than the people that are pushing them out of it. Where it's like the support group is something like Andrew Tate or some like weird crypto thing or like some like stupid like red pill like weird like worldview. And so yeah, I think that's the issue. Alpha male boot camp.
Include that some of these men may work but in the underground economy, work like formal cash jobs or even shady illegal ways of making money. But of course, this is just a minor portion of these men. We need to address the problem head on. How is the situation getting this bad? These men have completely lost their purpose in life. All of their duty, their hopes, their responsibilities, their own dignity and value. It's being completely decimated at the moment. And we're seeing this with the...
I think that it's not going to come back. I think this is going to keep getting worse. And right now, like this is, I think it will get more than twice as bad as it is now.
Form of radicalization online, growing hatred and division, and a general apathy towards society as a whole. And the longer this is ignored, the harder it's going to be addressed down the line. More men today than ever feel disconnected, disillusioned, and left behind by a world that seems increasingly indifferent to their struggles. While GDP numbers...
Well, it's because they can't get a girlfriend. It's pretty fucking simple. And they can't get a girlfriend because they're losers. It's really just that, like, I mean, that's a huge fucking factor. You can't act like it's not. And, like, the thing is that it's a vicious cycle, says you. Exactly. Fuck, that's how do you think I know? How do you think I fucking know? Yeah, what do you mean? Exactly. Duh. Fucking duh. Obviously, I'm the expert. Like, I'm the guy they bring in. It's like, you know, there's an interview and it's about like the history of cheese. And they bring in like a 53-year-old man who's balding with glasses. And it says like, Dale Hubman, cheese expert. Okay? Like, I'm the fucking incel expert. I've got the exodia of incels. No personal hygiene, balding, living at my mom's house, no job, fucking, like watching anime all the time. Yeah, I am the incel exodia.
Employment stats may sound like an easy, good solution on paper, especially to government bureaucracies, it will never really fix the reality of the situation for normal people. The real challenge we face today in the West is to find purpose and meaning again, to have any reason to even want to participate and achieve greatness in society.
Yeah.
We should focus on creating environments where people can thrive, where beauty, philosophy, and higher noble pursuits are actively encouraged by the cities and countries that we inhabit, which would give millions of men a reason to care again.
Not going to happen. It's just going to keep getting worse, I think. That's my perspective. I think it's just going to keep getting worse. And it's the reason why is that, like, intelligent men and guys that are smart have more opportunities now than ever. But guys that don't have as many of those opportunities and aren't smart and very hardworking naturally, they have way less. Because, like, now, like, if you're kind of like, let's say, you know, people, like, everybody's a different height, right? Some of you guys are 6 feet tall. Some of you guys are 5'6", right? And so, biologically, I think intelligence is like a mix. You can, like, basically, it's like playing Sparking Zero, right? You can be really good at playing Dr. Satan or Mr. Satan, but you're still going to lose to somebody who's average at playing Ultimate Instinct Goku. That's just the way it is. And so, like, you've got to work a lot harder. And so all of the Mr. Satans and all of the, Master Roshis out there, they're not able to rank up anymore. They're not able to do anything because those brackets aren't giving you any points. Yeah, the Yamchas, exactly. And I'm just being real. And so that's what's happening, is that people that are down on those levels, they don't know what the hell to do. Because, like, they can't go and get a job like their grandfather did. They can't go and do that. And, what are they going to do with their life? I have no idea. How much of this is the fault of the family and the parents? I think it's absolutely a huge fault of the family and the parents. I actually think that it is and this is a really contentious topic. Let me link you guys to the video because this is a great video. Make sure to give it a like. This is amazing. I wanted to watch it for 2 weeks. I was like, man, I didn't get a chance to. I think that there is a lack of spiritualism, and the way that spiritualism reinforces a sense of belonging inside of a society. And that lack of spiritualism has caused people to divorce themselves from any degree of accountability to anything greater than themselves. You know, it's basically been like hedonism on steroids. And I think that's what's happened a lot. And obviously, and that's why you see a lot of guys, I think right now, this is maybe I'm talking out of my ass. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you're seeing it the same way I am. I think this is why you see a lot of young guys, especially with Islam, but also with Christianity, going back to religion. Is because, I think that religion and having some sort of, foundational ideal system it's almost like a lot of those old Abrahamic religions are in a lot of ways. I had a friend of mine that was religious tell me are almost like the antidote for modern politics and modern life. And I think that's why you see a lot of men now that are going back to Islam, right? They're going back to Christianity. They're thinking about it. El take? No, I don't think it's an el take. I think this is an observation. I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm saying this is the observation, and I think that's why the behavior is occurring. Maybe you don't think that it's occurring. I think that it is. So yeah. I've considered it. Yeah, no doubt. Korean Jesus died for your sins. Koreans actually recently had a big protest against gay marriage. Because I just heard Japan ratified gay marriage based off of their Supreme Court. Incredible, great, good for them, awesome. But yeah, Korea is still still trying to fight against it. But Korea is, in my understanding, is a lot more religious. So yeah, Koreans are running right. Yeah, something like that. Since a community and aid to fellow people will draw in more people to religion. Yes, exactly. And I think that people are missing that, and they look to find that in religion. And I think that religion is baked into the culture. Religion and culture, I think, are one and the same, right? It's not the exact same, but there is one informs the other, and I think also vice versa. So yeah,